there needs to be a scheme to say, right, why are you homeless? How can we help? What training? Can we offer them some sort of skills-based training? So if I was Prime Minister tomorrow, what I would introduce would be a set of bills to remove the biggest, I think, scourges that we have in society, homelessness and starvation. I can't believe that we are in the 21st century in Britain and we have people that are malnourished, especially
Mhm.
children. I think it is reprehensible that are we the seventh, eighth richest nation in the world? That we still have people that are not eating enough. And,
Mhm.
people can say that's down to, choices and things like that, the kind of individualist. But when it comes to children, there's no excuse for it.
And
The
particularly homelessness. I mean,
yeah,
it's I, when Michael Howard was Home Secretary, I remember he put a lot of effort into reducing homelessness, and a lot of people in the conservative right thought he was mad to do it. But actually, it's I think it's really important. How
mm.
how would you go about doing that?
Well, first of all, I think we had an example during lockdown. We put them in hotels. We're happy to put a lot of migrants in hotels. Why aren't the homelessness getting that same sort of treatment?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think for me, if it's happy enough for people who are becoming refugees in our country, which I think we should house them and help them as well. This is something maybe we can talk about on another occasion. But I don't see why that's not being offered for homelessness people as well. But not only that, there needs to be a scheme to say, right, why are you homeless? How can we help? What training? Can we offer them some sort of skills-based training? Would they like to become, a carpenter, an
Hmm.
electrician? Do they have any qualifications at all? But to help remove that, if it's drug addiction, maybe get them off those drugs or alcoholism.
Mental health issues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That there's always going to be a reason why people fall into
Yeah.
that. It happens far too often as well. So I would help to remove those issues, basically.
I think you struck something. When Virginia Bottomley was the health minister, she implemented a policy that basically shut down a lot of the institutional care that was provided around people with mental health issues. And I
Mm,
think one of the consequences of that is we start to see people living on the streets who once would have been cared for within the healthcare system. So, I mean, yeah, I do think the state has a responsibility when people have mental health issues. Do you think it could be done best by local government? Do you think charities could do it? How would you go about saying, right, okay, we're going to identify homeless people, we're going to somehow bring them in to a system of care? What do you think would be the way of the mechanism for doing that?
well, I think it would have to be a nationwide effort, but with lots of consultation with councils, because one of
Hmm.
the issues that we're seeing at the moment with the immigration, hotels and where they're being
Hmm.
settled is obviously there's a high concentration in certain areas, and it is, I'm very pro immigration, but sending thousands of people of certain background into a certain area it then deprives local people of school,
Hmm.
housing, all those other things. So it has to be a national level thing, but done with the work of the local councils so that they can say, look, we've got this much capacity, we can
Hmm.
allow this many people in here. That's the reality of the matter. And I think what
Hmm.
has happened with a lot of these issues is actually it's the, wider government just going, right, we'll hand it off to this person, that person there.
Hmm.
There's no
Hmm.
consultation, there's no actual investigation into the damage it might
Hmm.
cause an area. And so
Hmm.
that's how I would do it. I wouldn't have the charity sector involved because I think the reality for me is a charity often is a failure in government to do what they should be doing. And so
Hmm.
that's why I would focus on that as well. Would you
Hmm.
say that that's a fair enough methodology with respecting local areas and actually their capacity?
Certainly in America, you have states have a large degree of autonomy when it comes to these things. That's why you had welfare reform in Wisconsin, for example, in the 1990s. I think this idea of giving the organizations and the level of government, it could be the city council, it could be the town council, it could be the county council, giving the local authority a say in fixing a local problem is a very good way of doing it.
Mm,
You'll get innovation, you'll get trial and error. Um, I also think, London probably, I'm guessing, has a vastly bigger problem of homelessness than, say, Clacton. So
Yes.
you might want to factor that in and allow different approaches to be tried out in different parts of the country.
Who knows their people better than the people that are
Mm.
in charge in the local area, rather than an overarching government who probably doesn't do the research enough to even
Yeah.
know what the needs are.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, localism is a very good way of running a country if you can. The United States is a very good localist model. Switzerland's a very good localist model. Um, I I have to say, as someone who's advocated for localism, I'm disappointed with the few areas where we've had localism. It generally hasn't unfolded the way it was intended to. The most important example, I think, is policing. We created these elected police and crime commissioners, the idea being that different police and crime commissioners should set their priorities locally. In fact, the system captured that, and you've got the College of Policing now basically issuing fatwas that decide policing priorities, and they do this by citing operational independence. You do need localism, but you need to be very, very careful that it actually is delivered, and that there is the opportunity for different areas to try things differently. It mustn't just be lip service localism. But I think your idea is a good one.
Mm.
I think a lot of people would agree with you. It's always slightly depressing when you are in a rich first world country and you see people living in essentially sort of third world
Yeah.
standard of squalor and homelessness. It is something we could address.